Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am in beautiful, lovely Escazú, Costa Rica, recording this on Sunday, the 5th of October in the year 2025. And yes, it is October. We have 3 months left to this year. It is hard to believe. And we have lots going on, so let's get started. The first thing is that I've been calling this eclipse hangover week, and yes, it certainly was. And I have to say, I felt the energy start to lift sometime around Thursday, Friday, okay? And then really, once Friday was over and moved past it, that's when I started to actually feel that, okay, we're moving out of this. And then we have a full moon tomorrow, and this is important full moon because this full moon is the one that kicks out the eclipse period. And I know I've gone on and on ad infinitum about these eclipses, but I really think that the second one was a doozy. It was really complicated, and it was hard. I'm not going to lie. It was hard. It was at the South Node, and the South Node eclipse really, I think, is where we have to release, let go, especially in Virgo, where things are often controlled by us, or we think we can control things. We fool ourselves into believing we can control so much. We have so much control, or we try to control things that are out of our control. And so while it wasn't exactly at the South Node, because the first eclipse on the 7th of September was closer to the nodes than the second one, this was opposite Saturn, and I think it came with an assortment of luggage, an assortment of baggage, and there's been a whole lot of Pluto through all of this too. The second one got followed up by the Mars-Pluto square, so I feel like we're finally breaking free of all of this, and we are still in a Pisces moon right now, and the moon will go into Aries at 12:48 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning, the a.m., the wee hours. And then the moon is full at 11:48 p.m. That's in the Eastern time zone. And if you are in other regions of the world, such as Europe, if it's at 11:48 p.m. in Eastern time zone Monday, then you are getting the full moon on Tuesday. So if you're in England, or if you're in Europe, or if you're in Australia, this full moon will occur on Tuesday. And so when you're hearing this, it's probably Monday because it's Sunday where I am. So, so this is going to occur at 14 degrees Aries. And as I mentioned last week, that also covers the territory of 29 degrees of the fixed signs: Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. And this is finally, I feel the energy around this surfacing. I feel the get up and go of Aries, even though we are not in the Aries moon yet. The moon will not enter Aries until later, like I said, 12:48 a.m. And then it goes full many hours later at the end of the day. So tomorrow we have an Aries moon, and that's the get up and go I'm already feeling. And I think it's important. I think it's important to acknowledge this because we're moving into a fresh cycle. And this is important. I like that it's Aries, that we're moving into a fresh cycle, and it's with an Aries moon. So this is going to give us some fresh energy, and I can feel that already. Now, Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer, which is, of course, a cardinal sign. And while it is at 23 degrees of Cancer, the moon will square it on Tuesday the 7th at 2:24 p.m. And that means that it's in the cycle, when it's full, it's in the cycle of going towards Jupiter. It's approaching Jupiter. Right now, as I speak, the moon is at 26 Pisces, not quite at Saturn. And so it's already trined Jupiter. So it's going to be talking to Jupiter quite a bit, which I like because Jupiter is abundance, and Jupiter opens the doors, and it gives us more freshness that we could use right now after this whole eclipse cycle. I'm glad it's over. How about you, y'all? Glad it's over? Glad this cycle is over. And so it's really important to pay attention to this because we're moving out of this whole arrangement of, eclipses opposing Saturn and eclipses opposing Saturn that is at the end of the zodiac, which is a big trigger for everybody. Okay, it's the ending of something. And so by the time we get to eclipse season in 6 months next year, it's going to be Saturn in Aries and Neptune in Aries, and all of that business around the Pisces eclipses and stuff won't, there'll still be Pisces eclipses, but they won't be entangled with Saturn. And I think that's going to feel a whole lot better. So, but we're here right now, and we've got some other exciting things going on. Now, the other thing that happens tomorrow, aside from this full moon, is that Mercury enters Scorpio. So Mercury is going into the sign, so it's going to leave Libra. It's going to go into the sign of Scorpio tomorrow, and that will occur at 12:41 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, that will put Mercury in the same sign as Mars, because Mars is in Scorpio too now, and Mars likes Scorpio because it's the traditional ruler of Scorpio. And it's a great, great time to get focused, determined work done. Whatever you have, and it doesn't matter if it's your job work or something at home, like you've got a house project, if you've got things you're dealing with in your personal life, this is a great time to buckle down and get the intensity and the focus that's needed and work with it, because Mars and Mercury are there to support us in Scorpio. Mars likes being in Scorpio. It's good in Scorpio. Yeah, it was bumpy with Pluto, but Mercury is not the ruler of Scorpio or anything like that, but it really intense concentration and focus when it is in Scorpio. And so putting it close to Mars is going to give us an extra oomph in the department of being able to focus, to concentrate, to get the job done. Scorpio does that. Scorpio and Capricorn, Virgo too. Virgo gets the job done very well. But while we are in this lovely Libra season, and we're going to be basically halfway through it, I can't believe it, Mars and Mercury are helping us get our work accomplished and get our experience of what we need and get the passion going for the job at hand. So if you have something that's a tall order, a big task, now is a great time to tackle that. Even if it's your kitchen cabinets. Sometimes it takes all our determination and work to get that done. If you need a lot of chutzpah for something right now, like you want to make a presentation or put something out, launch a project, Mars and Mercury are good for that. They're going to help you get that out there. And it gives you confidence. It gives you the push, the drive, the passion, the inspiration to do these things. And so while we've got a full moon that's ruled by Mars, and Mars is in its own sign of Scorpio, co-ruler, this is a very Marsy energy we've got. So if you've been wanting to work on a project, now's the time to grab it and do it. If there's something that's calling you, or if something is requiring a lot of your energy and focus and determination and commitment, this is a great, great, great time. Yes, Scorpio is a water sign, but it's a passionate water sign. It's not, I'm floating into this and I'm going to magically make it happen like Pisces necessarily. It's something very determined. All of that Aries, Mars, Scorpio energy that's around us is giving us the get up and go, like I said. So this is really powerful and profound, and it's helpful. Now Mercury, of course, it's entering a fixed sign, so it's going to square Pluto. Anything entering fixed sign, since Pluto is at the very beginning of Aquarius, it's going to aspect that Pluto. So Mercury goes into Scorpio on Tuesday, and it squares Pluto, 10:41 a.m. Eastern Time, and we are getting the energy to do what we need to do, focus on our projects, and get everything done. And if you're still working on your tax extension, this is a good time to get those numbers done and finish them up. So it's excellent. And so be careful with your words that you use in these next days. Once that Mercury goes into Scorpio, a sarcastic comment may slide through your lips. And oops, I didn't mean to say it like that, but it got out before I had a chance to grab it. Ouch. So Mercury in Scorpio can be a bit of an ouch, and you don't want to criticize or, be sarcastic in ways that are not appreciated. If you're being funny with friends and you guys are making sarcastic jokes to one another, that's one thing. But if you have to deal with something and you let a comment slip, it might be a little bit of an ouch to the other person. And conversely, you may receive an ouchy comment from someone else. You may be like, what the heck did they say that to me for? This is words. It's Mercury. Words and thoughts and instincts to say something maybe you better not say. So catch your tongue. Think before you speak. Be careful about how you use your thoughts, too. Thoughts carry frequency. Frequency is energy for us. We need to be very aware of how we use our words and our thoughts this week. And if you can keep your thoughts clean. And what do I mean by clean? I mean clear of criticisms, judgments, harsh comments to yourself. I mean, we're talking about thoughts now, not just words. But don't talk to yourself badly. Talk to yourself kindly. Support yourself. Keep your thoughts out of the realm of judgment of self and others, okay? The more you can keep your thoughts focused on things you want to achieve. And this is something too. We want to achieve good things in our lives, right? So if we use our thoughts to support ourselves, and I have, like I've said, a meditation practice, that's a great way to help keep your thoughts flowing in a very positive way and to become very self-aware and mindful as to what thoughts are distracting you and taking up your energy. Thoughts carry frequency. Thoughts carry energy. Where you put your attention is where you put your energy. If you're going to start getting onto these distracting things, they're not going to serve you. It's going to be counterproductive. So we want to keep our thoughts in a productive way, non-critical, non-judgmental, non-hateful, none of that stuff, okay? Well, Mercury squares Pluto, because that's really a slippery slope with that water sign, Scorpio, to go into thoughts that are counterproductive to our own positive life, okay? So that's one thing we have to do. Mercury is also going to make an inconjunct to Uranus at 5:41 a.m. on Tuesday Eastern Time. But that is part of a bigger relationship, because when Mercury steps into Scorpio on the day of the full moon tomorrow, Mercury is going to be the apex of a yod. Remember the yod? The finger of God? So Mercury at 0 Scorpio, and right now it's at 28 Libra. It's talking to Saturn right now as in an inconjunct, but then it's moving into this yod with from Saturn into Neptune and Uranus. And it's going to make the inconjunct to Uranus, like I said, but it's also going to make an inconjunct to Neptune at 6:53 p.m. on Monday Eastern Time. So there it is, sort of straddling the Uranus and Neptune sextile that's going on. And Saturn's kind of part of that, even though it's at the end of Pisces. So Mercury's talking to Saturn now. And yes, in fact, Mercury is talking to Saturn. And so this is where we want to pay attention to, again, Mercury's message, because even though it's going to be going into that square with Pluto, it's still in a dynamic thing with all three outer planets. So there's a lot of information coming forward in this moment. So yods are triggers. They are, if you hit that Mercury with something, it's like bounces off the Uranus and the Neptune, and they are going to produce a lot of intuition, fast thoughts, innovative thoughts, ideas, brilliance. And so allow that to come forward and don't kill it, Pluto, before it has a chance to live. So the dynamic between Mercury and the outer planets is really a strong one in these next few days. And we really want to take advantage of this. Now, if there's a time when you want to change your thought processes, like I said, through meditation or something, mindfulness practice, if you want to change your thought processes and your beliefs, and we talk about beliefs all the time here on the Golden Astrologer Podcast, this is a great time to take a hold of your thoughts. Oh, that's a limiting belief. I want to change that. The more self-awareness we have in these next few days of how we're talking to ourselves, of what we're believing in, and the thoughts we're in, we really want to grab a hold of that self-awareness and say, okay, I'm going to make a list of this. I'm going to write this down and say, okay, I'm going to work on these beliefs to clear them, because they're not something that's helping me. And so I do a lot of belief clearing work with my expansion mentoring practice. And so we have patterns to work through NLP stuff to help with beliefs. And the whole idea with beliefs is you got to catch them. You got to have the self-awareness to go, oh, that's where I don't believe in myself. Or that's where I believe something that came right from my parents. I don't want to believe that. That's like limiting for me. So this is a great opportunity to stay very aware of those energies and where they're coming from and how you can change them. So look at your thoughts, pay attention to your thoughts, even if they slip by really quickly, and that's how they go unconscious and we don't grab them in time to really get the consciousness to change them. So just be very aware of that. Okay. Then on Wednesday the 8th, we are going to have a very lovely Venus sextile Jupiter. And Venus sextile Jupiter is a smooth aspect with Venus in Virgo and Jupiter in Cancer. And Venus and Jupiter, when they talk to each other, they're the two benefics. Jupiter being the greater benefic, and Jupiter is in its exaltation in Cancer, as I've mentioned before. And it's really very positive for friendships, love relationships, family relationships, all relationships. This Jupiter-Venus, it doesn't happen very often, and it's really nice. And we have to, maybe get together with friends, go out and spend some time, do something nice for someone you love. It's an all-around great aspect, and it's smooth and it's flowing, so it can slip by us without giving us any real notice. So just move with it. If you feel really positive on Wednesday, do something good for yourself. Take some action, because Venus and Jupiter are a really good energy to take action under. So take some action. Buy yourself something nice. Not like a Ferrari, but, unless, of course, that's what you were planning on doing anyway. But, go buy something nice for yourself. Take yourself out to lunch, dinner. Go out with a friend. Take a friend to dinner. Do something really lovely, because later in the week, Venus is going to get to the end of Virgo and oppose Saturn. And that's going to be Saturday. So, while we've got all this buoyant energy happening Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, let's do some really positive things and spend some positive time, because when Venus gets to the end of Virgo, she is going to be at the eclipse point, opposing Saturn, 7:11 a.m. on Saturday the 11th. So this is not necessarily going to trigger up all the eclipse stuff again, I hope. I don't think so, but it's maybe bringing you a little flashback or something. Maybe it's going to bring you something that reminds you of those days. Maybe you'll be with a friend and you'll be recounting the story of what happened to you during the eclipse time. And just be mindful of that. Venus and Saturn, what can I say? They are the planets, when they get together, they make us feel not quite at our best. We can use the energy to sort of hone in on creativity and make a creative achievement. We can use the energy to create something stable, because Venus is in Virgo. But it is counterproductive, once again, to believe you are less than, believe you are unworthy, believe you are undeserving, believe that you are not lovable. And that's a big one under Venus Saturn. The I'm not lovable aspect, or no one's going to love me, or I struck out again, or I thought this relationship was going somewhere and now I think it's not. Before you go down that road, please use some of this buoyancy that we're having earlier in the week, use some of your self-awareness and say, look, so right now it might not look rosy, but I'm going to, move through this with as much awareness as possible, okay? It might just mean you have to work a little harder, Saturn, with your self-love and self-worth feelings. Self-love, it's never a wasted effort to work on your self-love, to open the door to more self-love. And if you're having a hard time with that, that's when it's time to really push the envelope with the self-love work. And whatever that means for you. There's lots of programs and books and things out there about self-love, and podcasts and videos on YouTube about loving yourself. And that's something that should be really high on the list for us, all of us, under Venus Saturn. It's the first thing we want to do is criticize ourselves, okay? And I learned, it was interesting, this past week there was a free masterclass with Melanie Ann Layer, this mentor I work with once in a while, that I go into her groups and stuff, and she did a free masterclass, and it was called Luxury. And it wasn't about buying Louis Vuitton or Ferrari. It was about the actual meaning of luxury, what luxury actually meant. And when we have Venus and Saturn opposite each other, we're not feeling luxurious, okay? But that might be when we have to turn up the dial on the self-love so that we can move into more feelings of luxury. Now, she says, deserving is not luxury. I deserve a new Louis Vuitton purse. No, that's what she was saying. That's not what deserving is about. They're deserving and luxury are two different things. She says, deserving is something that everyone needs. Everyone deserves, like air. Like clean air, like clean water. That's what people deserve. I'm buying that expensive handbag because I deserve it. No, she was saying how those things are more of a style design thing, but you can look at luxury as luxuries of time, luxury of location, luxury of all the love you have in your life. And she said those things are luxuries. And it turned luxury on its ear. It completely redefined luxury, which is a word with frequency. Every word has frequency. And so listening to her talk about that and explain that there's a difference between the power of luxury and deserving luxury. And all of us started to realize how much luxury we had in our lives because of time, because of love, because of location, because of all sorts of things like that really have nothing to do with having beautiful material goods, okay? And we just associate it that way. But that's not necessarily the case. So this was really eye-opening for many of us in this group, for mostly everybody in the group, and everyone was having a real breakthrough around that. And so it was something like when we talk about Venus and Jupiter and then Venus and Saturn, this is an interesting dynamic because Venus and Jupiter, you're thinking, oh, luxury, yes. But Venus and Saturn might make us take a deeper look about what we are grateful for. And those things are luxuries. Like, I'm grateful for my good health. It's a luxury to have really good health, right? So those kinds of things. So be more aware of your gratitude this week as we move from Venus and Jupiter to Venus and Saturn, and see if you can be grateful even in the face of Saturn. Because it's easy to be grateful when Venus and Jupiter are talking to each other nicely and we're saying, this is so exciting. We're going on a picnic. We're taking the middle of the day off on Wednesday. Yeah, that feels like luxury, right? But then when Venus moves to oppose Saturn, things may not be as special as they were a few days before. But that's when we really need to uphold the gratitude and stay in the frequency of gratitude, because that's what's going to get us through all that Venus Saturn stuff that we are going to pass through next week. So, at the same time, a few minutes after Venus and Saturn oppose, Venus being at that eclipse point, the moon will be in Gemini trining that sun in Libra. So that's actually a positive thing. And it's only 3 minutes later after that aspect of Venus Saturn. So if anything needs to be smoothed over from the eclipse because it's sun and moon again, it should happen in that moment, I would think. And maybe there's some leftover tweets of something that you have to acknowledge as you move through that triggering of that eclipse point again. But Venus is going to move into her own sign on Monday the 13th, and that's not till a week from tomorrow. And she's going into Libra later that day on Monday the 13th, and that's the day that Pluto goes direct. So we are now in the station of Pluto because we have one more week for Pluto to be in retrograde before it goes direct. Now, lots have happened. Lots of things have happened with Pluto. Pluto involved at eclipse season, Pluto having Mars transits at eclipse season, all sorts of Plutonian things these last bunch of weeks. But, when it goes direct, and as we are in the station, we're going to feel some heaviness. So I expect that this week, maybe towards later in the week, we may have the feelings of the heaviness of Pluto stopping. If you have planets, I say again, in the fixed signs, you are probably going to feel this very strongly. If you have things in early Leo, early Taurus, early Scorpio, early Aquarius, this is going to be the Plutonian shift of this end of this year, and it will probably feel like something as we move into the Pluto direct station. Now, the moon is going to go into Leo on Tuesday the 14th, and it's going to oppose Pluto in the morning of Tuesday the 14th. I know I'm getting ahead of myself. That's really for next week's podcast, but I want you to be aware because Pluto is changing direction, and it's going to be the first planet that changes direction. So we have a little over a week before that happens, but we may start feeling it. And Pluto changing direction is always bringing things out from the underworld that we worked on in these last months since early May when Pluto went retrograde. Okay, so these are the themes that we've been working hard on, and let's see how we're doing as Pluto goes direct. There's always some little surprise that pops up as Pluto goes direct in the collective world, in the world at large, and then in our own personal world. So hopefully you will have some realizations. You will have some powerful breakthroughs and epiphanies as Pluto goes direct. And that's what we really want to have when an outer planet goes direct. Eclipses always bring epiphanies as well, but things like Pluto moving forward, I really favor that. That's how we have to use that energy. We got to get ahead of it and say, yeah, I want to have a big breakthrough when Pluto goes direct, because like I said, it's coming out from the underworld, all the work we've done, and we can see our progress. And that's what's important about these planetary cycles. Perspective shifts, perception shifts, mindset shifts. These are all good things to have under a direct station of Pluto. So as the energies start to rumble this week, just remember that. And if it feels uncomfortable, especially with that Venus opposite Saturn, push yourself to get some sort of epiphany breakthrough. Work with the energy and get a sense of how you're feeling and what could be underlying that. Feeling our feelings helps us recognize where we want to have the breakthrough, where the breakthrough can come. Just feeling the feelings and going, oh, is that what that was about? It's been a lot of feelings over these weeks of eclipses, lots of emotions, lots of feelings. And today I did another lecture for the Internations group, And it was a Q&A. We never did this before. We did a Q&A, so anybody could come with any question they had for me about astrology. And people were saying, when is the eclipse period officially over? And I said, it's tomorrow when the full moon occurs. And I explained a little bit of that. And, interestingly, we talked about that quite a bit. And then people were talking about, actually, I had some questions about the difference between Vedic astrology and Western astrology, which was also very interesting. But I think everyone is relieved to have this eclipse season over. So, wonderful, wonderful week ahead to each and every one of you. I hope you have a beautiful full moon. If you need to get in touch with me because you'd like a session, just go to my website, thegoldenastrologer.com, and click book online and set up a session with me. And I also do expansion mentoring. And ideally, it would be great if you can come for an astrology session, get the information you need, and then step forward into expansion mentoring, because then we can work on the things that came up during the astrology session. I also offer bundles that you can get 2 astrology sessions. Say it's your first astrology session with me. You can get the first and second one, the follow-up, because most people come for a follow-up. So you can get it for a discount of $75. So if you buy the first and second one together, then you get a discount of $75. So I highly recommend that bundle. You can find it on my website if you click the book online option. And then, of course, there's my 5D Reiki, which I love. And that helps break contracts, unconscious themes, old patterns. We love that Reiki. It isn't just some sort of very calming, peaceful energy, although it's that too, but I can go in and clear up a lot of stuff for people that has been in their way. So energetically doing a big clearing that way. I'm on Instagram, The Golden Astrologer, where I post videos and information about the astrology of the week, plus some other fun things. And I am going to be here at the Golden Astrologer Podcast next Sunday, and we'll talk all things Pluto going direct and what Venus is up to and how the week will progress next week. So come back, see me again, or visit with me again. And I hope that you all have a beautiful week. Gratitude, much love to everyone for listening, and thank you. And I look forward to seeing you on the internet. Have a beautiful week.